Hello, and thank you for joining us for this town hall webinar with President of School Year Abroad, Tom Hassan, who's actually in his office in North Andover today. Resident Directors Megan Lewis-Rue, Megan, if you want to just give a little wave, Mina Kadir and Pat Scanlon, and co-chair of the Campaign for SYA and former trustee, member of the class of France 71, Jamie Broderick. I am Erin Erickson, SYA's Director of Advancement, and it is my pleasure to welcome you today. Thank you for joining us on this SYA Day Town Hall webinar. Before we get started with providing some updates, I want to inform everyone that this webinar is being recorded and we will distribute it to others who were not able to attend. Also, we have allocated some time at the end to cover a few questions, so please feel free to use the Q&A feature at the bottom of your screen. If you've been following along today, and I'm not sure exactly where we're at now, but you'll see that we've crossed the 75 donor mark out of our 200 donor goal for SYA Day. So thank you to the 75 people who have generously given and shown their support. And thank you to everyone who has participated for your commitment to our mission. All gifts and pledges today and today through June 30th are matched dollar for dollar through the campaign countdown match. So our total raised is increasing exponentially with every gift that comes in, and we are so thankful for that. So continuing in the exciting news category, we are planning to reopen our campuses abroad in the fall. Tom will provide an update on those plans, changes to our admissions process and programming options, and more about the class of 2022. The resident directors will tell you more about what's happening in each of our countries and what our faculty have been working on during this year without students. And finally, campaign co-chair Jamie Broderick will share more about the progress of the campaign for SYA as we enter these final 2 months of fundraising, and we'll invite everyone to participate as we sprint toward the finish line. With that, I introduce you to SYA President Tom Hassan.
Thank you so much, Erin, and thank you and your team for all that you're doing to help in this day and all other days to support SYA. And thank you all for the donors out there. We so much appreciate your generosity. It really makes us go. So I've been thinking of a few comments to make, and one word that keeps popping up in my mind is pivot. And about a year and a half ago, when the pandemic first started, we quickly had to pivot in each of our campuses, first in China and then over in our European campuses, to really get our kids home safely, which we're able to do. And what we found quickly is that students did not want to go back to their previous schools, but they really wanted to stay with the teachers and RDs they knew and loved so well during their time at SYA. So we had most of the students be online with us for the rest of the last school year. At that point, we're actually recruiting for this school year, and we had accepted a whole class of students. And you probably know where I'm going in the next sentence or two, which is that we were unable to get them over this year, although we tried as valiantly as we could to make that happen. But we just surmised that it just wasn't safe enough to get them over there this year. But we are ecstatic that we are ready and opened our doors for next September. And we not only had students whom we admitted a year ago, some of whom stayed with us throughout the year and will be going in September, but we recruited another hearty group of students, intrepid travelers and SYAers to head on over in the fall. And so we have actually some of our highest numbers ever going over in the fall, and we can't wait. And what we've been doing in the meantime is that we have brought our faculty back from furlough as of last December. And actually we're able to do that thanks to a gift that was part of our capital campaign that Erin and Jamie will talk about in just a little bit. And we're able to bring them back starting in December. And for the last several months, we've been doing a lot of different work. And I'm not going to steal that conversation because I'm going to let my colleagues tell you all about that. But I do want to say that what this year and a half has shown me is the depth of commitment that parents and students have to the experience, that they can't wait to roll up their sleeves, pack their bags, and get over there. And I know on the other side of the ocean, we have our faculty and RDs who are equally, or maybe even more excited to have them come. And they've been really preparing and working hard to make that happen. And again, not only in what we're going to give them, but make sure it's a very safe experience for our students, because safety and health of our students clearly our top priority as we move ahead, and it always has been. So with that quick introduction, let me do an introduction of my treasured colleagues here who are coming from different spots of Europe to talk with you today. Let me just introduce each one, and then I'm going to have them speak. In no particular order, I'm going to start with Pat Scanlon from Italy. And Pat has been with SYA for, wow, a long time, maybe even almost from the start of our program over there. And Pat just brings a wealth of experience, and everyone in the wonderful town of Viterbo knows Pat, knows SYA, and it's a very special visit that I have all the time over there because it's just such a warm and inviting campus and locale for our faculty and students, thanks to Pat and his team. Also on our from Zaragoza, Spain is Megan Ruth, and Megan brings a lot of experience having been a teacher in America of Spanish, but also a leader of student groups over to Spain for a number of years. And she and her husband have made their wonderful home now over in Spain, and we're all the better for it. And our students really enjoy the care that they bring to that position. And Mina Kadir from Rennes, France. And Mina is someone who is just is totally dedicated to whatever needs to be done. She was out there apartment hunting the other day for one of our math teachers coming over. And that's just one small little task of oodles that she does on any given day. And I always love to see her posts because she has posts of former students who are always stopping by Rennes to say hello. So with those introductions, let me turn it over to my RD friends here, and they can talk about what they and their faculty have been doing since December.
Hello, everyone. It's so nice to be here for this special day for SYA. Thank you, Tom, for those kind words. And thank you also to Erin and her amazing team for all of your work on this really important campaign. So I'm going to give a little bit of an update about first what's going on here in Spain, just related to the COVID situation, and then talk a little bit about what we've been doing during these past months. As Tom mentioned, that we've been lucky to have our all of the teams back in our 3 countries back to work, even without students here. So as I'm sure you have probably seen, the situation here in Europe with COVID, as in some parts of the US, continues to kind of go up and down. Fortunately, the vaccination, campaign here is picking up. The Johnson & Johnson vaccine was just brought back online in the EU. And so that's really good news for getting things moving along here. There's also a lot more of the Pfizer vaccine that is coming online. And the government here in Spain continues to promise that 70% of the population will be vaccinated by the end of the summer. So we're all really putting our faith in that and hoping that that's going to happen so that everything can start to get back to normal. The good thing is too that Aragon, the region that Zaragoza is in, and Zaragoza, while the numbers have gone up a bit, they're not up in the same way that they are in some other parts of Spain, like in Madrid right now. So that's good news as well. Oh, there's my dog in the background. If you saw her for a moment, she escaped from her room. So
give to SYA today on the giving.
Yes, she likes to make appearances. She got out of the room with the door closed. So anyhow, the last months have been a really great opportunity for us to get back to work. And I also would just like to say my thanks to that generous donor who was able to support us in getting teachers back to work and getting our faculty and staff back to work in December, and to all of the donors that are making this campaign such a success and that have allowed us to do this work during these last months. So when it became clear that we were not going to be able to have students here during the second semester, we put our heads together to really think about ways that we could take advantage of this time. As you all know, in the education world, when you have students with you, dedicating time to professional development is very difficult because you're completely overwhelmed, particularly with a program like SYA, with travel and all of the other things that go along with it. And so we decided to really take a look at, how can we make our experience even better for our students and dedicate time to professional development by focusing on best practices. We've done 2 different types of professional development across all 3 of our campuses, which has been fantastic. both the work that we did focusing on how we design our classes, and kind of how do we set goals for where we want our students to get by the end of the year, the end of the semester. And also we've been focusing on language learning in particular with ACTFL, which is the organization in the US that focuses on the teaching of languages. So those, the information and all of the knowledge that we've gained, but those two opportunities also gave us the chance to work across all 3 campuses. We had teachers working in teams, creating modules for similar classes across campuses, and they all really loved having the opportunity to do that work together. And I think another thing I would just like to say before I pass the baton on is, having this time is something that, while of course we all were so excited to have students this year as we were hoping, it's really been kind of like a once in a lifetime opportunity to work as teams and to work across our campuses. And so I just want to say thank you again for giving us that opportunity. And also just a thank you to all of our incredibly dedicated teams on all 3 of our campuses, because they were so excited to start the work in December and have just done such a fantastic job with all of the things that we've asked them to do. And they've also come up with many things and sharing articles and talking about different books that we've read and offering different perspectives that we just haven't really ever had time, or might not ever have time again, to get that deep into these kinds of conversations. So it's just been a really great kind of benefit out of this difficult situation. So thank you very much.
Thank you, Megan.
All right, so bonsoir from Rennes, or bonjour if you are in the US. I will echo what Megan just said right now. We're very grateful to have been able to work together this year and use the time that was given to us to work on different kind of programs and improve our teaching for next year. We're very excited about September. And I will start by giving you our country update. I wish I could report a bit differently, but at this time and until May 3rd, we're under nationwide confinement measures. On the schools front here, elementary schools will resume class this coming Monday as we are finishing our spring break. I actually have a 2nd grader and a 5th grader, so I'm very excited. They will be back at school on Monday morning. Junior highs and high schools will resume the week after that. On another positive note, the confinement here has allowed the country to speed up the vaccination process. France's vaccination strategy is that currently people 55 and older can get vaccinated. Next month, people 50 and over will be eligible. And starting mid-June, people over the age of 18 will get access to the vaccine. The Pfizer vaccine here, as of last week, is being bottled here in country, which will also help with access and distribution. As of today, actually 18 million out of the 67 million people living in France are vaccinated, which is actually ahead of the target plan announced by the government. President Macron was actually on American television last week, and he was on CBS on Face the Nation, and said that his objective was to be able to provide vaccines to the entire adult population by the end of the summer. He also said that during this interview that the government is putting a robust plan in place to welcome American tourists in France as soon as this summer. So as Audrey Hepburn said, Paris is always a good idea. So while we couldn't travel this year and we couldn't have our students, we did do some exciting work, which we could not have done in a normal year for the reasons that Megan explained earlier, that usually we're very busy with students being on campus. So as our faculties came back in December, one of the overarching goals that the leadership team had established for all 3 sites for this year was to diversify SYA's offerings. And in that area, we had a sub-goal, which was to find ways to connect with our member schools. So this was actually a very exciting project for us to be given the chance to teach students, which again, we do not have students on campus during this very particular year, and actually export, share our knowledge and our languages with schools in the US. And I will actually quote one of the teachers at Broderick who said having the class on the architect Le Corbusier taught live by our art history teacher was like partir en voyage en France pendant 1 heure, so traveling to France for an hour. So we've done some very deliberate work to reach out to our member schools. This work has really allowed us to keep ourselves relevant and visible in the classroom of member schools in a way that we had actually never imagined before this year. We started this pilot, which consists of offering synchronized classes led by local faculty in selected member schools. And each site, l'Espagne, l'Italie, et la France, chose member schools with whom we have strong relationships, meaning we either knew the language teacher on site or the SYA coordinator on campus, and we knew they would be willing to give us a class period to do a class for them. Our first classes actually took place back in January with the French team who taught politics and art history classes at Belmont Hill, as well as at Broderick. We also did several classes at Hotchkiss. In Italy, the faculty did history and Latin classes at Albuquerque Academy, and also offered Italian language club at Tabor Academy. And in Spain, we did language and history classes on the Spanish Civil War. So as you can imagine, collaboration and coordination between our schools and member schools took time and effort, but the feedback from students, some of them actually wrote thank you letters in the target language to our teachers, member school teachers who wrote several emails after each class, thanking us for providing this experience to the student who were most of them online at the time, as well as head of schools reaching out to Tom and being very happy. This was a fantastic and amazing experience on both sides. And a big win for us, as I think we have achieved our main goal, which was to give back to our member schools. And at the same time, in a very organic way, we made ourselves visible in front of prospective students. So we are actually hoping to continue this work, hoping to continue these offerings next year, but in a slightly lighter version, as our teachers will be busy teaching the classes, full classes. As Tom mentioned, we're very happy. We have a lot of students. And the idea for next year would be that our students in country would participate in these classes in a synchronized way with member schools. Voilà, back to you or to Pat. Thank you.
Thank you, Mina. I'll piggyback on what you and Megan have said in terms of gratitude and quickly share a quick anecdote that occurred a couple hours ago at our first in-person faculty meeting since we've come back to work in December, which I was explaining to them about today and with today's special event. One teacher said, could you please thank them for all of us? And admitted that in 20 years, the very first couple of years, had a hard time understanding why an organization would charge tuition and also raise funds. And said, I get it now. And thank you. And the faculty basically applauded. The gratitude cannot be overstated. And it does translate into the work ethic that we're seeing and the opportunity that they're facing and taking full advantage of. So I am passing on my sincerest and deepest gratitude on behalf of the faculty and staff here who, believe me, feel it sincerely. The situation in Italy, which was very much in the bullseye when this pandemic hit Europe last February and March, was largely a consequence of the second oldest median aged country on the planet. And the fatalities can continue to be higher here proportionately than most other countries. If there is a silver lining and one can somehow take solace in the sacrifices that others have made, it is that that fact alone has remained in the general consciousness of this people who 201 feels like they need to do their part as the vaccine starts to gain momentum and as therapeutics and solutions are presenting themselves. So I witness people making continued efforts to do their part by wearing masks and maintaining the distances. The schools here were, the high schools in particular, were 50%, and will go beginning today to be full-time for the rest of the year, as numbers here have been dropping for a good steady 3 to 4 weeks. We've all lived through it's a pandemic, the whole global ups and downs. We happen to be facing a more positive outlook in terms of cases, more positive outlook in terms of the vaccines, more positive outlook in terms of the therapeutics, the warmer season coming, a hopeful tourist season that will revive the struggling economy. But people are both trustworthy and optimistic, and we share that as in our little area of Italy. We have been fortunate, like in France and like in Spain, to be in an area that is less affected nationally than average, and only a couple of moments where it looked like it might be happening to us only to abate, for which we are also immensely grateful. So that's the situation here. I also wanted to share that part of the work the faculty has been doing has been to do outreach with our alumni. And so our language teachers and we as resident directors have been working directly with the advancement office with Susan McLean in particular, whose work has been heroic. And it's another place of gratitude that I would like to extend from us as teachers and us personally, that Susan is reachable all the time, even maybe when she shouldn't be, but she is so reliable and has put us in touch with alumni and helped us also resume some contacts that we might have lost by offering the clubs that Nina mentioned, the events that Nina's mentioned, one that takes place tomorrow, in case anybody's interested. You can find that on the alumni page in each one of our languages. It's been really fun to see, especially here in Italy, where I've participated in some of them, to see students I haven't seen for 15, 17 years, to see what they've become, to see how they're enthusiastic about their language and how they like reconnecting with their teachers. So the partnership with the home office has been key. I think the work has been on behalf of the part of the teachers astonishing, and the connections to our alumni gratifying. We've had tons of fun doing it, and also we've talked about ways to continue this initiative into the future because it seems really valuable, and the truth is we're having an immense amount of fun doing it.
Thank you so much, Pat. And as I listen to the three of you, I'm reminded that there's the silver lining in what we've been through, which is using technology to reconnect with former students and to connect with our schools that traditionally send us students, and for, as Megan, you pointed out, our faculty across the campuses, kind of working together, which is always an exhilarating kind of time. So I'm going to take all those positive things from what we've been through and just jettison those things that have been challenging for us. And again, looking forward to September. So on that note, let me turn it back to Aaron, and then I know in the end we'll answer questions. So I want to make sure we finish the rest part of this section.
Yeah, thank you, Tom, Megan, Mina, and Pat for those very helpful updates. It's so refreshing to hear about all the work in progress and the ways that SYA as a whole and SYA on each campus has been adapting and innovating as we've gone through this challenging year. So my thanks to all of you for your partnership in that. Next, we'll have campaign co-chair Jamie Broderick, and he will share an update on the campaign for SYA. As a reminder, or for those who have not yet heard somehow, the campaign for SYA is our first ever comprehensive fundraising campaign. What that means is that this is our first ever dedicated effort to raise significantly more than what we do in any given year for specific initiatives. So in this case, we are building endowment for student aid, faculty support, and curricular innovation. In addition, we are also continuing to fundraise for current operations through the SYA Fund. Our goal through the campaign for SYA is to raise $18 million. And the deadline for us to do the fundraising for that is June 30th, 2021. Yes, 2021, this year, 2 months away. The clock is ticking. We are encouraging everyone in the SYA community to please participate with a stretch gift, or even better, a 5-year pledge. I want to note that pledges can be paid out through June 30th of 2026. So you can make a commitment today or before June 30th of this year and pay it out over the next 5 years. And if you do that, the whole pledge gets matched. And all dollars raised have a direct impact on what SYA is able to do each year, which is helping to make SYA more accessible to students who require financial aid, supporting our faculty through professional development and other opportunities, and implementing changes to our curriculum in order to maximize each campus and community in contributing to student learning every year. So with that very brief recap, and I could go on for hours, but I won't, I now introduce campaign co-chair, former SYA trustee, Jamie Broderick, also class of France 1971A.
Thank you, Erin. And just by way of explanation, this isn't Rennes right after the war behind me. This is actually SYA school in Rennes in my year, which was 1970. So the photograph was taken by a classmate of mine. So on behalf of my co-chair, Alex Alger, and myself, I'd like to thank Erin and an absolutely extraordinary advancement team at SYA, a horde of volunteers, and then hundreds of contributors for one of the most exciting fundraising exercises I've ever been party to. So let's think about this. Our little school has managed to accumulate in gifts and pledges a little over $15 million so far, even during a pandemic, when people's thoughts and priorities may be elsewhere, when their financial resources may be stressed. And importantly, we haven't been able to do those one-to-one in-person conversations, lunches, and dinners that are really the lifeblood of any fundraising campaign. So, what this tells me is that in our 50 plus years, we've not only accumulated 8,000 alumni, but we've built a really cohesive, loyal community of people who've all shared the life-changing experience of living abroad in a safe, immersive environment, discovering who they are and who they might become. And they all still remember that experience, and many of them still link it to their current lives, as I certainly do, on a regular basis. What's interesting is, along with those alumni, there's a smaller but equally appreciative group of parents who have watched their children bloom and develop in ways that neither they nor their kids could have foreseen. And some of those parents have said, effectively, even after paying School Year Abroad's tuition, basically they're saying, the experience you gave my child was priceless, and I'd like to help some other child have that same opportunity. Now, my professional background is in asset management, in investment. I'm not a fundraiser. I don't like fundraising. I've never been comfortable asking people for donations. But frankly, I don't see this campaign as asking for your charitable contributions. I see this campaign as an invitation to join your peers in making an investment in School Year Abroad and the experience it delivers. And like an investor, you know this investment. You've done your research, you've done your due diligence. You've seen that it delivers extraordinary outcomes year after year, decade after decade, generation after generation. So your parents, most likely your parents, made that financial investment when you were 16 years old. Now, a few years or a few decades later, this is your opportunity to top up that investment for the benefit of the next generation. Now, because I have an investment background, School Year Abroad made me chair of the finance committee sometime after I joined the board. It was 7 years ago, and since then I've retired off the board. So I know firsthand how important our endowment has been in providing financial stability for SYA and in providing financial aid to roughly half of the students who rely on it each and every year in varying amounts. Now, as you can imagine, we've been battered by the pandemic and the loss of tuition, obviously, but we have been able to weather this because of the careful financial management at School Year Abroad, and because we've been able to rely on our financial resources when we really needed to. So our endowment, which is basically based entirely on your investments over the years, that's what ensures that School Year Abroad gets through a pandemic and then has another 50 years in it. A couple of financial highlights. So to date, we've raised 15 million. It was a smaller number earlier this week, but Aaron, I just can't keep up. So we've raised $15 million on a target of 18 million. And I have to say, that was a pretty spicy target we set pre-pandemic. I think it's really exciting that we've gotten as far as we have. I think we're in yelling distance of hitting it in the next 2.5 months. But we also have some tools to help us. So let me just mention the Alvarez multiplier match. So Alvarez is a family, one of those sets of parents that really appreciated the experience the School Year Abroad delivered. And they're generous in part because I think because of their gratitude, they're expressing their gratitude not only for what SYA brought their child, but to what SYA brings secondary education in the United States. So the Alvarez multiplier match gives you a 25% match on gifts of $100,000 or more. Now, as an investor, I honestly can't resist an immediate 25% return on a tax-deductible investment. Honestly, it's just too much to pass up. That Alvarez match has been used. It's $1 million. We've used a little over 700,000 of it, and that means there's nearly 300,000 left. Another really, really interesting initiative is the Women's Giving Initiative. So this is an ambition to raise a collective $7 million from women in the School Year Abroad community, targeting 20 women giving 100,000 or more. And they have reached $5 million so far. And then today, I'm really pleased to introduce the final tool, the campaign countdown match. So we have 2.5 months left. And here's how it works. So to inspire others to give generously, a group of generous alumni said they will match every gift and pledge to the campaign, dollar for dollar, up to a total of $500,000. So gifts that are given between here and the end of June will be matched dollar for dollar up to that 500,000 cap. But I would specify that if you give, they'll match dollar for dollar up to 25,000, above 25,000, the match is capped at 25,000. I think it's, again, as an investor, that's 100% return on your tax deductible investment. If you could just get into the mindset that this is an investment in School Year Abroad, it's a pretty compelling match, I have to say. So we would love you to get involved in these last 2.5 months. It's really important for you to participate. We'd really like to encourage you to stretch. If you can create, and this is the way I visualize it, if you can imagine a stretch gift, so not a normal gift, a stretch gift, and then commit to doing this into over 5 years. So commit to 5 years of a stretch gift. That would be a fantastic way to be participating in this campaign. But it's not just the money. It's not just the money. The money's a big piece of it, but also we want you to use this as an opportunity to reach out to classmates and other people in the community, spread the word, remind them of the experience they had with School Year Abroad. I mean, talk to your clients about the experience that you all shared in School Year Abroad, and see if you can encourage them to make an investment in School Year Abroad. So anyway, I'd just like to say thank you for all of you who've been so engaged so far. We hope you will give serious consideration to topping up your contribution to the campaign. If you can influence somebody else to do the same thing, that would be fantastic. But we are very excited about the progress we've made, the potential we have left in the next 2.5 months. So just, I'd encourage you all to think really deeply about this. And that's my message. So Aaron, back to you.
Thank you so much, Jamie. I don't think anybody else could have said it better. So thank you for co-chairing our campaign along with Alex Alger, who wasn't able to be here, but you spoke very well on behalf of both of you. And we're deeply appreciative of all that the two of you have done to promote and support this campaign all along the way, from the very early meetings to where we are now getting ready to sprint across the finish. So thank you for that.
Thank you, Aaron.
We did see a question in the Q&A, and that's from Carolyn Hills. Nice to see that you're with us, Carolyn. Will there be an expectation that students are vaccinated when they attend school in the fall? And I think probably Tom, you're the right person to answer this one.
Yeah. Hi, Carolyn. Nice to see you, and say hi to Keith for me. Yeah, we are. That's under discussion right now. And I know that a lot of schools are moving in that direction, colleges and independent schools. And that's the direction we're moving in, and we're going to be announcing things. I know our host families are really excited to get their vaccines. They've been talking to us about that. So come September, I think things are going to be, everyone's going to be vaccinated. And I do think we'll probably have some residual stuff like some mask wearing and some social distancing, but we'll keep a careful eye. We have a group of the RDs, and there's a health and safety coordinator in our office, and we meet regularly to talk about how things are changing and our responses to them. So we'll keep that work going to make sure we get them over safely and keep them safe when they're over there. Thanks.
Thanks, Tom. I know that's been a really popular question that we've heard in many different conversations, so a good one to address while we're all together.
Thanks.
I've not seen any other questions come through, so last call for questions before we wrap it up.
And while we're waiting for those questions, Aaron, I want to thank Jamie, because I love the way he thinks mathematically. It all makes sense, Jamie, to me. And I do want to say thank you for your leadership and your service and your generosity to SYA over the years. You've been just a remarkable alum for us, so thanks.
Thanks, Tom. Thanks very much.
And that's actually a great opportunity. I'm not sure if others have heard, it has been declared in the US that it's National Volunteer Week. So we say an extra special thanks again to Jamie and all of our other trustees, philanthropy council members, class ambassadors, campaign volunteers, the many people who have mobilized and just really raised their hand to support SYA in a very meaningful way. So as we celebrate National Volunteer Week and SYA Day, thank you to all of you.
There's another question here. Let me just.
Yep, from Willie B, which is there a host family fund? So that's a great question. There's not a specific host family fund, but what you can do is give to the SYA fund, which is our annual fund, and that is used each year to support host families. So that helps to pay for the stipends and the other things that they may need throughout the course of the year. So while there's no specific endowment fund for host families, you can give to the annual fund and it will be used for that purpose.
While we're on the topic of host families, I'd love to ask any of the RDs to share a story, but I'll just start with mine, which is, some people have heard me tell the story before. When we celebrated the 50th anniversary in Rennes, there was a mom there who came, and around her were about a dozen now older people, and they were actually her host children over the years. And she had a long list, I think about 15 that she had hosted. And I thought that to me captures SYA. I mean, it's that wonderful experience that kids have. And what was cute about that moment, though, is that these people did not know each other, because they were obviously a different year with this mom, but they were all tied together in a small group of SYA family. I don't know whether you guys, Pat, you've been around for a long time. So are there some host families who've been with us for many, many years in Italy?
Yes, there are. And however, we've gone to a model recently where, because we have many host families who come to us to host now, we give preference to those who have children at home. And so the extra long host family is not necessarily the model anymore. But we've had host families that hosted for 15, 16 years, just like the one you've talked about, who brought their children from very small through college, with our students. One was in school today to sign a few papers and was just eager to get started next year. So the enthusiasm is always still there, and we enjoy excellent relationships with them in this town where we are in the center, where they can stop by and we have good contact with them. It's a wonderful thing. And the ones that don't host anymore are still very visible. We invite them to events. I loved just the spirit of the question, because they are fundamental to this experience in parallel with the curricular experience that we give our students.
Okay, there is one other question, and that's from Margaret Talcott. Can you talk about different countries behind or ahead of others, and will all campuses run?
So I'll take it from and then ask the RDs to add anything. Right now, the 3 European campuses will run next year. China is not running next year. A group of us are taking a look at the future of our footprint in China. But the other 3 campuses are running, and in fact, they'll run during the year, and most likely will offer a summer session. For those of you on this webinar may not know that we have offered from time to time summer programs for 5 or 6 week summer program for high school kids. And we're looking forward to that coming back up online in the summer of 22.
Great. I think that's it for questions. So thank you to Tom, Pat, Mina, Megan, and Jamie for helping with this town hall today. I really appreciate all of you and what you're doing. As a quick update, I just refreshed my screen, and for SYA Day, we're now at 90 donors. So we need to get to that 200 mark. We've got time. We're sending out some emails, but if you're listening in and you have a few people you can write to, and if you can get on that form and make a quick gift, we would appreciate that. In addition, here are a couple other calls to action for you. So one is to, well, please read our emails, open them, and take a look at what we're sending to. We think it's interesting. We hope you do too. But most importantly, or one of the many things that we hope you will do, is attend virtual events. This is one of them, but we have a lot of great things that we're offering. As Pat and Mina and Megan talked about, we're offering classes for alums. So, and actually for parents too, and former faculty. I know we've got a couple of former faculty in here today as well. So don't be shy, sign up for those. That's a faculty member from each campus, teaches a small course, usually an hour, hour and a half in length on a particular topic. Spain, France, and Italy each have a week in the month to do one of those. And then at the end of the month, we have faculty led language clubs. So that's usually around a topic, a movie that is watched or an article that's read, and then there's some discussion, and it's a good opportunity to brush up on those language skills. So encourage you to look into doing that if you haven't yet. In addition, we have our Every Day is Earth Day event on April 27th at 3:00 p.m. Eastern Time. In May, on the 19th, we have Tortilla Española and Sangria, and that's on May 19th at 7:30 p.m. Eastern Time. That's an interactive cooking class with, we have an alum that runs a restaurant called Boqueria, and his name's Jan de Roquefort. He's a Spain 85 alum, and he will be joining us for that, and you'll all learn how to make tortilla española. And as I mentioned, the faculty classes and language clubs every month, take a look. Those are really interesting and pretty well attended. So please sign up for those. In addition, thank you to everyone who has already made a gift today to the campaign, to SYA. We are so grateful for that. We encourage, as Jamie mentioned, if you made a token gift and you think you might be able to stretch that, we would really be so grateful if you would consider doing that to help us get over the finish line, and extending that into a 5-year pledge. And in addition, if you can encourage others, shoot a note over to your classmates, to other parents that you know in the SYA community. I mean, you can ask your neighbor if you want. Anybody's willing, that's willing to make a gift, will take it. So if you're willing to do that, we'd appreciate it. Again, all gifts today will count toward the SYA Day goal, which is that 200 donors. The campaign for SYA, which is that 18 million that we've been talking about, and they will be matched through the campaign countdown challenge that Jamie introduced. So please take some time to get involved. And like I said, thank you to everybody who's been here.